All right, let's pick it up with the final segment for this hour. Different guests every segment, and we are now joined by Jack Blood. Jack, thanks for coming on. It wouldn't be a 9/11 special without you. I know you've been doing a lot of great work demanding justice now 10 years later. Can you believe it?
The time flies when you're having fun. Thanks for having me, Bob. Appreciate the time.
No problem. So where are we going? Where do we stand?
Where do we stand? Well, that's a huge question, isn't it? I got to tell you, a couple of years ago, I got the feeling that 9/11 truth was as important as Oklahoma City truth, as World Trade Center 1993 truth. You know, I mean, after so many years, I know people love to keep that torch alive, and I meant that as a visual, the Illuminati torch. But, you know, we have to understand that we're moving on now, and there are more attacks. In fact, I just talked to you offline, and there was some kind of a nuclear shutdown today in California where they're saying that people cut the lines in Arizona, or, as Barry McCaffrey is trying to intimate, that it was some kind of a cyber terrorism job done by 20-somethings. As we know, most of the cyber terrorists work for the United States government, or the Chinese government, or the Russian government. So, you know, we're going to have a new event here very soon. In fact, they're warning us for the anniversary of 9/11 that there could be car bombs happening. That'll give them, of course, the perfect excuse to, you know, play police state on in New York and in D.C. on 9/11. So, I mean, really, we have to look at this because, you know, we had Oklahoma City bombing. We had the crime bill, which was the precursor for the Patriot Act. We had the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, which also took away a lot of our liberties. So those things now are just as important as 9/11 truth, which I've been working on for all these 10 years.
They are important. You know, the multitude of things that we're facing, it's just ridiculous. Chemtrails has become one of my things now, you know. But for a lot of people, 9/11 was that first initial kick in the butt.
Yeah. You know what, I guess I should have not been surprised, but just about the time that B.O. was running to come save us with his Hopi change, I realized that about 45% of the 9/11 truth movement were working for George Soros, whether directly or indirectly, and that we had a lot of very, you know, stuck in the left-right paradigm group of people who really just wanted to go after George Bush and Dick Cheney. And once B.O. came in, you know, they're not so interested in 9/11 truth now. In fact, Raw Story put out a Raw Story today, which I thought might be 9/11 disinformation, that somehow they ignored Cheney's command to shoot down these aircraft on the morning of 9/11, when we actually have the Norma Mineta testimony, which I got up on my site again today, which says the exact opposite was true, that Dick Cheney told the armed forces, our protective, wonderful, you know, airline people out there, our military, to stand down. It wasn't they ignored the order. He told them to stand down. So 45% of the people were really just liberal activists inspired by George Soros. We found that out here right about the time that B.O. was running, that Soros was paying for a lot of these things, and this is one of the things, 9/11 truth. The other 45% were kind of Christian patriot fearmongers. That leaves about 10% of the people out there that really wanted to get to the truth to 9/11 and fix it. Now, what did we accomplish? The court of public opinion understands false flag events more than they ever did. So when the next one comes, or the next one comes, all this crying wolf, et cetera, on and on, they're going to identify it, even if it's subconsciously, as what it is, a false flag event. They're going to think of that first and work backwards. So we have accomplished that, Bob.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. A lot of people out there are fighting over, you know, how it was done, who it was done by. What would you say to those people out there that can't seem to get along amongst the so-called truth movement, whatever that is?
I don't know if I understand the question.
We got so many people that agree that there was something wrong with the official story.
It wasn't George Bush with a plunger, as little Chrissy Matthews or whoever tries to say. It wasn't that. It was Global Intelligence Services, which means it's a joint effort by Oceania to pull off 9/11, and they needed that. One thing I know for sure, and that's Al-Qaeda wasn't able to make our armed forces stand down. They weren't able to ignore prior knowledge, and they certainly weren't able to organize the massive cover-up in the investigation. So I think we know all of that. It's, you know, a lot of the time, and we've been saying this for years, it's not what happened, it's what didn't happen. So we have disproved this giant conspiracy theory of the 19 hijackers with box cutters making NORAD stand down. We've disproven that. And you can see as we move along, we're getting closer and closer to the point where they go, oh, okay, we did blow the building, and there was a Building 7. And by the way, there's a new Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth video out on Building 7, which is fantastic. I've got it up at my site. But we're getting closer to that time where they go, okay, we blew the buildings to save life and property. They're just going to start slowly admitting these things, but as you see, and as we build up to this 10th anniversary, all of this propaganda on the History Channel, on A&E, and on the regular news, to again just reinforce that. I mean, people were looking at the hurricane going, it made me think of 9/11. So they're just going to reinforce that fear-based mind control at any opportunity they can, and history is yet to be totally written, and that's what we're here for, Bob, I think.
Sure. And if they would only remember the Hurricane Aaron that was supposed to hit on 9/11. You know about that?
I do. We posted that up on our site.
It's kind of crazy. It's like we see all the coverage that these hurricanes have gotten and how they played into the fear. And to think that a huge hurricane was supposed to hit New York on the day of and somehow got redirected, it's kind of weird. I don't know what's exactly up with that. But,
well, I got to say, all of this crying wolf from the Department of Homeland Security and Big Sis and our various multiple departments of government has really backfired. And the people now, they don't care. They're not listening to all of these so-called credible or uncredible or incredible threats. They're not paying attention. So if these people were really concerned about quote-unquote national security and security just equals control, then they wouldn't be constantly, waving this terrorist red-baiting flag in front of us all the time, because they've desensitized the people to it. Now, what I'm predicting, and I don't make a lot of predictions, is that if Obama doesn't get moving, if he doesn't start getting better numbers and show that he can win this next 4 years, which everybody in the establishment is actually for, including some of the Republicans, they're going to take him out. That's going to be the October surprise. And most likely that will be done by, some kind of a Tea Party or Ron Paul person. But if he doesn't get moving, they cannot afford to have him lose an election. They just don't think they can see that in the cards. It's already predestined, just as it was that he would be selected in the first place. So, as I often say, if voting ever fixed anything, they'd make it illegal. But in this case, if he doesn't get things moving, that will be the next terrorist, and it will be homegrown terror. We're going to see another Oklahoma City of some kind, or assassination of a president, and watch everybody remember those old feelings of 9/11, Bob. It'll all come streaming back, and they'll all be screaming to give up their liberties for security.
You're absolutely right. You got anything going on for the anniversary this weekend?
We are doing a vigil here that is put together by Texans for Accountable Government in Austin, Texas. I believe that will be at City Hall, but if you go to Texans for Accountable Government, you'll be able to find that. I see that Peter Joseph of Zeitgeist is doing a huge festival in Los Angeles. That looks really cool. I'd really like to be there, but I'm going to be here in Texas, and we'll be mourning the loss of our liberties here on 9/11. And I suggest everybody do something similar in your own hometown.
Sure, yeah, I absolutely agree. I was thinking about going to New York, but I said, I got to do it grassroots like I always have, going to the city commission this week and so on. So that's what I'll be doing, and I hope our listeners are also doing something.
I'll see you at the 20th anniversary in New York, Bob.
20th anniversary, yeah.
We should live that long.
Yeah, you'll be in a wheelchair, and I'll be, who knows? No, I'm joking. All right, Jack, thanks for all that you do. Deadline.info, right?
Deadlinelive.info.
Deadlinelive.info. Take care, brother.
Stay bold.